All middle school students should wear uniforms. Oh, I bet I got some sort of a reaction when I read that to you. That is a statement that is a pretty hotly debated topic for a lot of students and parents and teachers. And it has been for years and around the country. I can promise you this is not happening to you this year or next year. It's just a statement really to get your attention because I want you to be aware of topics that have two sides to the issue that can be debated. And when you're debating things like this, we call that your side of the issue and your reasons and your evidence that would support your opinion. We call that an argument. And that's what today's lesson is all about. It's how to read an argument, understand the different parts of an argument, and what makes an argument good and not so good. So let's talk about argument writing, like the definition. All it is when an author expresses a point of view, or you could say an opinion, and supports it with evidence. I want you to think about what attorneys do in the courtroom. They go in to prove their case, whether let's pretend that they have a client who's innocent. They go in and they have to express their point of view and support it with evidence. That's what argument is, and that's what attorneys do. That's their main job. So when an author states their main point, that's called the claim. Okay, your main point is your claim. This is a statement the author, or you, since you're an author, believes to be true. And it's just based on your knowledge and your research. Let me give you an example from the article that we read yesterday. So the article, remember, the topic was about adopting pets versus buying pets. So the claim, which was the opinion of the author, was it's better to adopt pets than to buy them. Okay, that's the claim that the author was trying to prove is true through all of these, through the evidence. So this is just the main point. And then the reasons and evidence are going to write it, what takes this opinion and turns it into an argument. So in the article that we read, one of the reasons that supports the claim that people should adopt pets is that pets are healthier when they're adopted. Now, the author doesn't stop there. The author backs that up with evidence. And you probably remember when the article mentioned about the puppy mills and how the puppies are kept in small cages. They don't get a lot of exercise. The mother dogs are mistreated. So that's the reason, and then the evidence supports it. That's what makes a strong argument, that you have multiple reasons and evidence to support each reason. Another reason, if you remember from yesterday, that it's less expensive to adopt than buy pets. That was another reason that was supported with evidence. And then the third reason listed was adoption helps save lives of all those pets that are in shelters. So they don't have to put those down, as many down when people adopt them. So that's what an argument is. It's just your opinion with reasons and evidence. Okay? There it is. And 1, 2, 3, it's just that simple. The claim is what you think, the reasons why you think this, and the evidence is how you can support your reasons. Okay? Statistics. I'm going to go back one slide. Facts, examples, quotes, expert opinions. When you have expert opinions that are mentioned, like in the article we read yesterday, that makes the argument even stronger. You wouldn't just want some average person explaining why pets are not as healthy from puppy mills, because that wouldn't be necessarily an expert. An expert makes your argument stronger. Lawyers in the courtroom, when they bring in witnesses, sometimes they're called expert witnesses, like doctors and people who are specialists in the field, and that makes their argument stronger. So claim, reasons, and evidence. Those are the three parts. It's just that simple. So when you're reading an argument, sometimes arguments, they're not so great. They're not very strong. Sometimes they're wonderful. They're very strong. So when it's time to evaluate an argument, and this is a good real world skill, you're reading stuff online all the time. You've got to be careful. And if you're trying to figure out whether it's reliable or not, if it's a strong argument, this is a good way to evaluate it. It's called FELT, F-E-L-T. It's an acronym. And if you know what felt is, it's like a little, it's like a fuzzy fabric. And I like metaphors, so felt is the fabric that holds together a strong argument. Do you like that? I thought that was pretty cool. So before I go into felt, I want you to look at the orange statement at the top. An argument should be evaluated based on whether or not it is good, not whether or not you agree with it. So let's say you're reading an argument and you disagree with it. You do not think that students should have to wear uniforms in middle school. But the argument, even though you didn't agree with it, still could be a good argument. It still has clear reasons. It still has good, relevant, and reliable evidence. So just remember, if you don't agree with it, that's fine, but it doesn't make it a weak argument. So the F is fairness. So when you read the argument, is it fair, is it balanced, or is it biased? Biased means when the argument only tells you one side. It doesn't address the opposite viewpoint. And when it only shows you one side, it's really a weaker argument. If it's more balanced, it actually is a stronger argument. Evidence, we've talked about that. Is the evidence reliable, and is it relevant? Okay, reliable, expert witnesses. Relevant means it truly supports the claim. And then, or the reasons. And then, is it logical? Does the conclusion, does this claim, is it a logical result of the evidence? And then tone. Is the tone appropriate? The tone is the author's attitude, okay? Is it too emotional? Is it sarcastic or silly? And if it's one of those three things, it's probably not appropriate, and it really makes the argument weaker. You wouldn't see an attorney in the courtroom being silly or sarcastic with the judge. That would make his argument weak. So those are the four components of an argument and determining whether it's strong or not. Make sure it's fair. It's not biased. Make sure there's strong evidence. Make sure it's logical, and that the tone is appropriate. So we're going to practice today with an article. This is from the Scope magazine, and the topic is e-games, video games. And the question is, should video games be considered a sport? I don't know if you know this or not, but there are some colleges, in fact, there's over 100 now that are giving scholarships to students who play video games because they actually considered a sport at their school, and they're very competitive. And you probably already knew that, and there are people that make lots of money just playing video games, competing in them. So some people say it should be officially qualified as a sport, and some people say it shouldn't. So it's a debate, and there's arguments on both sides of the issue. What I want you to do in just a minute when this video is over is to go to Scope magazine link, the slides in Google Classroom, and it's going to take you to this article, and it's going to show both sides of this debate. Let me pull up this article for you so we can see what it looks like before I let you go. You're going to click on the link. Remember, you're going to click and you're going to sign in with Google Classroom. And then, well, we're going to make that go away. Oh, I'm going to have to log in now, I guess. Where is the Google Classroom? Well, it is a little tricky. It's going to ask you if you want to subscribe, but we're already subscribers. You don't have to subscribe. We've already paid for this. And notice how it says Google Classroom. You're going to log in with Google Classroom. You're going to connect your account if you need to. And then the article should come up. Let me go back and relink it again. There it is. So if you want to have the article read to you, there's this text-to-speech option here, or you can just read it on your own. There's an introduction, and then the first part of the argument is for making video games a sport, and then the second part of the article is the argument against making video games a sport. So you're going to read that, and then you're going to come back to the slides, and then I want you to analyze both sides, both arguments. So yes, that it should be a sport, I want you to tell me three claims that are three reasons that are being mentioned on that side of the argument. And then for the no, they shouldn't be sports, list three reasons for no. And then I want you to evaluate the side of the argument that that claims that video games should be a sport using the felt strategy. And all you have to do is go back and answer these questions, yes or no. Was that side of the argument fair? Was the evidence reliable and relevant? Was it logical? It means, did it make sense based on the evidence? And then, is the author's tone appropriate? So you can put yes or no for each of those. The more yeses you have, the stronger the argument it is. And then finally, the last slide, you are going to examine both sides of the debate and your own beliefs and decide what you think. You're going to drag the check. Yes, I think it should be a sport. No, I shouldn't. And then tell me why, what you think in the box below, whether you agree or disagree, and give me a reason in the box below to support your answer. All right, you can go on to Google Classroom and start that assignment.